Let's talk some more Aliens Omnibus 2. We got a few two short stories, followed by a 4-issue mini. So we're going to start with Dark Horse Comics issue 11, and it's a micro story called Taste. I think it's like a couple pages. And it's a face hugger. And then there's like a comedy twist on it. I won't spoil it, but I will say this. Unlike the previous Aliens comedy story that we had in the first omnibus that I absolutely hated, this got a little chuckle out of me. And I was reading this like I woke up at 3 in the morning the other day, and I was reading this, and I went, and my wife was asleep in bed next to me, and she like rolled over, and I thought I woke her up, but thankfully I didn't. I woke the cats up. They were all looking at me like I was a weirdo. So anyway, we're going to move on to Dark Horse Comics issues 12 and 13, which is a two-part story called Backsplash. And this is basically our protagonist from the next miniseries, Aliens Labyrinth. It's his origin and his Colonial Marine squad going up against a bunch of xenomorphs. And like how he was, how he dealt with them and his relationship to the xenomorph, that sort of thing there. We're going to talk about Aliens Labyrinth. Aliens Labyrinth is a 4-issue mini that deals with a colonel scientist being assigned to a top secret research base where he encounters a scientist that is experimenting on making the xenomorphs more docile. Sounds like Rogue, right? Well, he's also doing horrible experiments on other things. He's crazy. And we have another character whose fiance's gone missing, and so our two protagonists have to team up to figure out what happened. We also get the scientist's backstory. What did I think of Labyrinth? Well, the Labyrinth doesn't come till the 4th issue. It's, again, another bleak aliens story about a mad scientist. We've seen this so many times. This is the quintessential alien story of the 90s. I was talking to General Lotz about this. John and I were discussing it. And this is the default alien story of this time. And it's really annoying. It's really obnoxious. I mean, hell, this is the whole setup for Alien Resurrection. It's just like this. And I mean, each author does their own twist on it. But, like, it's still... This is probably the best one of these because it's so grotesque and bizarre. We find out, spoilers, but halfway through we find out our mad scientist, when he was a young man, his parents, they were all part of this crew, and they were terraformers. And they went to this planet to pick up some sort of, like, I'm not sure what it was, before they went to a planet to terraform it. They went to the moon, and they see like a smuggler ship, and they're kidnapped by xenomorphs, but the xenomorphs are like really weird. We come to find out they're being like poisoned by this mold on this planet, and it's made them like super strange, and like he's essentially like kidnapped, and like the xenomorphs are acting weird. There's no queen, and they're attempting to maintain it. It's just bizarre, and it's gross. Like, that's the big thing with this comic, is it's absolutely disgusting. I mean, there isn't any weird space catheters in this. That's like the one saving grace. But I mean, it's fascinating what this mad scientist went through. And it's left open-ended, which I don't know if Labyrinth ever got a sequel. I'd be curious to read it. Whereas, like, Aliens Rogue, I never want to read a sequel to that. It was dumb. It was just dumb and bad. But this is left weirdly open-ended, and I'm very curious to see if we ever get a sequel to it. I doubt it, because for all the Aliens comics we got, and this was concurrent with a bunch of other minis that were going on at once, because this is right when this is 93. We're still in 1993. So Alien 3 the movie's coming out, and they're just shitting out Aliens comics left and right. We're getting Bantam has been contracted to not make novelizations of the comics, to retcon them so they fit with the movie Alien 3, which we've talked about those. Those are the Steve and Stephanie Perry books. There's just so much Alien merchandise, because out of all the Alien movies, Alien 3 got the most marketing and nonsense, which is funny because Alien 3 is considered one of the biggest failures of all time. Whether you like it or not. And I just I watched the Legacy cut of it the other day, and I think it's a decent enough film. It's not my favorite follow-up to Aliens. I think it's frustrating in a lot of ways, but it takes Alien back, the property back to basics. And adds interesting gimmicks. It's filmed very well. It's not the Legacy cut is the best edit of it, taking the strong points of the theatrical and assembly cuts and putting them together. Which I think there's also a few things from the work print that are cleaned up for that too. But Alien 3 is just a weird anomaly. And it's partly because they realized that Aliens made a shitload of money, and they didn't market it hardly at all. I don't think there were no toys for Aliens until Alien 3. And so many R-rated franchises got toys. But it's because of Alien 3 that we got Aliens toys. I mean, Galoob made Micro Machines. They were branded Aliens. But they were stuff from all three films at the time. We got the Aliens action figures and their subsequent comics, which I've already talked about on the channel, so I'll not get too much into that. I mean, there were Alien 3 trading cards that had comics in them. Dark Horse was making so many Alien comics, it was ridiculous. This is probably the most Alien stuff we got until the only thing that would top it was the late 2010s when we got all those Titan Books stuff, because they were doing the RPG came out and they were just dumping novels out that mostly were crap. And that's the thing, when you have this much material coming out at once, it's just the more, when you have this much stuff, the more crap comes out rather than quality. It's quantity over quality, and it shows. And that's something that this omnibus is really showing. And the end of the first omnibus we were starting to see that, where the early Aliens comics sold very well because there was hype. People wanted a third Alien movie. And they just weren't getting that, and they turned to the comics for it in the late 80s. And that stuff sold very well, and it was very well written. But after Genocide, as we have to call it, because YouTube will take my video down, the series flounders, immediately. The following miniseries is just dealing with the royal jelly again. And then we get into something Aliens Tribes, for instance, that weird Dave Dorman art novella, where we just wallow in misery and deal with mad science nonsense. At least this didn't have SA in it and PDF file stuff with our main character. At least that wasn't a thing. We have weird body horror, gross stuff in this, but at least we didn't have that. I think Tribes will forever live in my mind rent-free in infamy as just being despicable and a miserable experience to go through. With great art, but terrible story. But Rogue, it feels like, what do we have left to do? What's the gimmick this time? Rogue was a xenomorph king. This is making the aliens weaker? And having, like, the aliens doing weird, like, things in the hive because they're being poisoned. Okay. And, like, it feels really rushed. Like, issue 3 is just backstory for the mad scientist. It's a flashback, except for a handful of panels. And then issue 4 continues, which is the finale, starts with continued flashback, and then we're like, oh, you're going to be forced into the labyrinth now. Because of the namesake of this comic. It's called Aliens Labyrinth. We might as well have a labyrinth. In the labyrinth, it's just rushed nonsense. If it weren't for the mad scientist character, I wouldn't have cared about this comic. I'm very curious about the novelization, because this is the one that S.D. Perry wrote, which actually is a combination of this and Backsplash, the Dark Horse Comics short story. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this. This was just fucking bizarre. What do I rank it? I give it like a 3.7 out of 5. It's okay. It's better than Rogue. I didn't hate this, but at the same time, I didn't like it. It just, we're already floundering. And I know next time we're going to be talking about the infamous first attempt at a story called Aliens Colonial Marines. Get ready for that, because, oh boy. Have a nice day.